Greetings, everyone. This is Brittany Brown, and the title of my paper was Health and Wellness of the Elder Population and its Personal Effects on Society. Throughout society and the baby boomer population, they had advantages that their parents, products of the Great Depression, never had or even knew that they could have. That the growing market was really what they created. Products were created really for the baby boomers, and so capitalism really flourished with the baby boomers. Due to this, many of our current elders or boomers are more highly educated, have better access to health care, and will live longer than any previous generation before them. Of course, over history, what this means to live has evolved. Living is not just about the number of years, is transitioned really into both culture and time, and what that means of how much time you have and the quality of your life and how well you spent it, along with your health and wellness and what that really means as an individual. And sometimes an elder's living condition, your surrounding area, your environment, and your support system can literally determine your quality of life. Over the last 3 weeks, I was able to get to know by a woman that I'll call Carol at the Ironwood Cancer Center at Banner Desert Hospital, where my mother is receiving cancer treatment for a terminal illness. And Carol was in remission for breast cancer, and she recently found out that she she now has stage 4 breast cancer. She's 70 years old and is a Pacific Islander. She hails from Hawaii, and her lineages actually derive from Japan itself. She's actually the middle child of 3 girls. She has 2 children, a son and a daughter, and a grandson, and she actually recently became widowed 4 years ago when her husband tragically died due to a diabetic coma. Her husband actually had a phenomenal job. They all moved from Hawaii to Arizona to accept this top-level executive engineering position at Boeing. And not only was he able to provide comfort financially for her, but unfortunately, when he did pass, Boeing's package was able to offer 50% of his salary and all of his benefits until Carol herself passed away. So because of this, her financial stability is guaranteed. She doesn't really have any financial needs. She works off and on if she so chooses, and she's been able to help her children whenever they need. Her son is a single father, and recently her son and her grandson did move in to help Carol with her illness, because though her illness is not as bad as others, but she does have bad days and good days. Her son does try to help a lot with that, and having her grandson present really gives her a lot of hope and stability and something to really look forward to. And it allows her to teach a lot of Hawaiian traditions and bring forth a lot of happiness for her, which gives her something to look forward to. As for her daughter, whom ironically shares the same name as me, is about 4 or 5 years younger than I am, and would prefer that her mother receive more direct care than informal support like her brother is providing. It's more of a personal choice for her daughter. Her daughter may just still be dealing with the death of her father and is unable to just really be around her mom at this time. So she, in fact, has moved on to Dallas. And when she comes to visit, they go shopping and do things as before when Carol was not sick, trying to avoid the chronic illness. One of the most astounding things Carol said to me was when I asked about one of her greatest accomplishments throughout her entire life. She said, undoubtedly, was being a parent. Through everything, it was always being a parent, and now being a grandparent. She never stuttered, she never faltered with this statement. It gave her the greatest amount of joy. And with the passing of her husband, her support system has faltered a lot, and it makes it difficult to keep a positive attitude in the face of hope while dealing with this disease. And she has no idea how this outcome will happen, because before they knew they could beat it, and now they're not sure. And being around her grandson and her son has really. Carol has had her ups and downs due to her chronic illness. Sometimes some of her family members stated they thought they could catch her disease or her frailty, and it made her really feel sad and like she should become a recluse. And because we got to know her, we became very close, and I would help her go to the grocery store when I took my mother and spend time with her and invite her over to dinner. And I asked her, how do you feel about the way society treats older people or the aging population, disease or no disease? And her statement was very profound when she said, people assume on your chronological number. It should not be based on how many years of life, but how well you are and the things you want to do is to aid in your mental state, not because of age. And what she meant by that is her wanting to go to the store is so she can feel happy and positive and not sit in a chair and be depressed and think about, I might die tomorrow. That she wants to be a part of society and not be set aside. Taking the time to really notice the people around you, no matter their age, is crucial. Not just asking, hey, how are you? And then moving on with your life can change the way a person feels. Being a gatekeeper isn't just about the older population. It also has to do with the young person as well. Looking at this photo is a picture from recent. This is a photo of my daughter who has severe asthma, and a photo of my mother whom is wearing a mask because we went in public and she couldn't be exposed to the elements around her. And what I noticed is I had to take them both out with me, and people would kind of stare back and forth at both my mom and my daughter trying to figure out what did they have. And it was interesting in the way in which they treated my mother versus my daughter. They were a lot more compassionate towards my daughter and more expecting towards my mother, in which the way they expected my mom to have a disease but not my daughter. As if the world was more cruel to my daughter, that she was ill, and that it was just natural life that my mom would be sick. And it just struck me, maybe because by taking this class, that we just come to expect older people to be sick and frail and participate even subconsciously in ageism. That how unfair is that to them, that we would assume, oh yeah, you're going to get sick, too bad for you, and then move on with our life. Carol let me know that some of the hardest things about living in society and her support system was that the fact that she did lose her husband, but when she went with her first bout of cancer, she had him, to help her fight the disease. And as I stated before, now she has her son and her grandson that kind of help her. But just living with the unknown as an older adult, as an elder, sometimes you live inside your head a lot of times, because as a baby boomer living from 1946 to 1964 or whatever number that is, I'm sorry, you've seen so much in your life. You've grown up with parents that have gone through the Great Depression. You have seen the Vietnam War. You've seen our own recession in 2008. You've seen the stock market crash. You've seen 9/11. You've seen marketing go skyrocketing because everything was catered to you. As a baby boomer, you made business, you made capitalism a very real thing. And now you've become a feeling of, as she expressed, almost obsolete. You've been replaced by a generation that sees you as disposable and non-upgradable. You're almost like a hard drive that no longer fits in your tiny, tiny computer. And she was like, I can't be upgraded, but I also can't be replaced. And she was trying to explain that she's trying so hard to make her life mean something, and she's not ready to let go of anything, and make sure she's left a big enough imprint in her children's lives and her family's lives that they know that when she's gone, that she was still here, that she made an impact, a good impact, not just a my mom paid for lots of things and it was so great and I really miss her because she's not here for that, but that she made a basic human goodness impact. It's imperative to know that the support system that you give someone can determine how well they view and see themselves. Always give love, always be there, and listen to them when they speak. On this slide, it actually is from my life. On the far left is Pat Brazil from George Brazil. If you live in Arizona, you know that company well. And then a very profound Broadway producer is a gentleman that's sitting down, which I can't release his name. You might recognize him, and if you do, congrats. And then on the far right, you will notice my Hawaiian woman that I speak of, who I call Carol, and then my mother, and then two of my daughters, Zoe and Claire. And my youngest is missing from the photo. And I added these so you could see the difference in how we view elders in our community, that no two elder person looks the same, that depending on how we dress and how they look, one could not look so ill, the other could. And depending on how we perceive a person is how we could make their day feel. While doing this presentation at the request of my mother, she thought it was important for those around me to know what the life of a caregiver can look at with someone that has a terminal illness, that there are happy moments, there are still moments, there are quiet moments, and there are moments where there's nothing you can do. But sometimes the best thing you can do for someone is just be there. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to do as a caregiver, as an informal caregiver. And sometimes you come to a point where you can't do that anymore, and that's where you do, in fact, seek out formal caregiving, but you can still be there as an informal caregiver. We are still at the point where we are doing informal caregiving, but these are moments, true moments from my life currently, and my mom asked that we share this so other people can learn and feel what it's like to go through, not out of sympathy or empathy, just to see the reality of what it's like. So, happy moments, sad moments, still moments, quiet moments, but moments where you are present. Not always bad moments. So, I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Enjoy! And as requested, here are a list of my references.